Let's turn it on. Hi, everybody. How's your lunch? All right, I had mine, so hopefully I won't fall asleep on the stage. First of all, thank you for, to Don and Mike and Ashley and Sandeep who invited me and kind of walked me through the whole process of coming to event and speaking in an event. I've spoken at some before, and I really love how you guys organize everything and the content at the event, so hopefully you're enjoying it. Want to remind you that if you're tweeting, which is encouraged, the hashtag is MarketMix, and my Twitter handle is on the slides. And also, today I'm going to talk to you about the trends, sort of marketing trends that I see shaping up in the industry that we as marketers cannot really ignore. But that said, as I know a lot of you folks have questions about sort of Intel and how Intel set up social business and transformed social business globally in the past 5 years. So, there's going to be a Q&A session for about, 10, 15 minutes where you can ask any questions. And then I also will be around and available all the way through the reception about 6 o'clock, so come find me. All right, with that, let's start. Trend number 1, the power of millennial generation. Here's the thing that we as marketers don't really consider. We'll look at our sort of the digital natives and Gen Z and Gen Y, and we say, hey, they don't have any purchasing power, so we're not going to focus on them. We're going to focus our marketing efforts on adults. But the reality is 50% of population, world population, is under the age of 30. These are people who are digital natives. These are people who grew up with technology, who don't just say, oh my God, this is a smartphone. They say, oh, this is a smartphone. It's like my third arm. This is something I'm attached to. So these are people who also are very educated, very connected, and very global. And the reality is people use brands they grow up with. So a lot of times as marketers, we tend to overlook the fact that when they're still in classes, in high school, in college, that is the time to reach out to them. That is the time to engage with them. The estimated collective buying power of millennials just in the US alone is 200 billion. But if you're really looking at their indirect power and their indirect influence, it's about 500 billion each year. Why? Because they influence not only their peers, they influence their parents as well. There is such a trend that's called hand-me-ups. Hand-me-up is when you are, as a student, tired of using your iPhone or your mobile phone, and you say, here, Mom and Dad, here's a great gadget for you. It's high-tech, it's latest, you can use it. I'm going to go buy myself the one that just was put on sale, which is the next generation. So through hand-me-ups and through their deep knowledge of technology, they influence a lot of people around them, including baby boomers and the generations that come in front of them or before them. Here's the 3 truths about millennials that we probably as marketers don't know. One is already mentioned. Consumers prefer brands that they grow up with. That is one of the biggest reasons why you as a marketer or an agency who works with the brands and marketers on the brand side have to engage those folks, the millennials or Gen Z. Millennials are chief technology officers in their household. They know everything there is to know about technology. They know how to use it, why to use it. They're very mature at that. So, for us, and I work at Intel, you might not work in a technology company, that is one of the critical things to look at. And still, even with us internally, we still took some time to realize that that young generation is somebody who we can actually, we need to approach and engage with separately in absolutely different ways. Marketers do not know how to market to millennials, and that is the truth. You might say, no, we've been doing it for years, and there are some agencies that specifically focused on that. But we cannot use the same marketing techniques and marketing strategies and marketing approaches that we use to market to baby boomers. They do not work. It is highly connected, highly social population, and they are absolutely, they have a great bullshit radar. They know when you are trying to push marketing message down their throat. So the only way to actually get to know them is to do it on purpose, engage with them, and allow them to co-create and co-create your brand, co-market your brand as well. The good news is, and here's research from Barclay, they do engage with brands on social media. So they do frequently like their Facebook page, they follow the Twitter account, they do want to have a conversation with brands. And they do it pretty often. They interact with brands pretty often. So what can we do to actually engage that population? So for last year and a half, I've done enormous amounts of research, looked at research that was out there. We did our own research with several vendors. And here are some of the generic sort of things that I think you need to keep in mind as a marketer when you reach millennials. One is peer influence is twice important to them as advertising. As a matter of fact, MR report actually showed that 62% of decision are influenced by the social, sort of close social peers and their family. So building communities, when you're asking yourself what's the value of building huge, communities that are tightly knit and highly engaged on either it is Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest or Instagram, the communities work because they do come in and do engage. As a matter of fact, we have some months on our Facebook page, and Intel Facebook page is about now, 70 million fans. And there are some weeks and months where young folks, age 12 to 24, are the most engaged and having the most conversation with us as a brand. And if you think B2B brand can do it, you absolutely can. Responsible brands that create safe environment are really definitely well respected. Cause marketing works. It doesn't work all the time. It doesn't work consistently. You have to be very smart about how you use it, but it definitely works. When young folks look at a brand, they look at several things. What is your heritage? So ask yourself, as a marketer, do you really do a good job of telling your story? There was a session on storytelling earlier today. What is your story? One of the first things I ask when I talk to vendors, whether it's an interesting name or it's an interesting concept that they have, I ask them, what is your story? Some of them have no problem talking about their story and really getting into storytelling. And a lot of brands go, well, we've been founded in... That isn't really a story. You have to know your story, and your story, heritage is extremely important, but beyond that, a part of that story needs to be, what are you doing to impact the world? What are you doing to positively influence the world? Market with them, not to them. Here's the biggest problem that we're facing. Gen Y and millennials, they want to actively participate in co-creation of your marketing activities. They want to participate in your community. They want to help shape your brand. We don't let them because we're afraid. We're very much afraid that we'll lose control of that, of sort of defining what our brand is. But that is one of the most important things that you can do to really reach out and build communities, is you invite folks in and you say, what can we do better? Or you look very closely at some of the third-party, images or videos they create specifically for you as a brand because they're huge fans. And you look at that and you say, how can I capitalize on that content or that love that they're showing me in my communities? It's one of the critical things to remember. Allow youth to express themselves. So if your brand actually helps them express their own, they're definitely very likely to engage with you and promote you and spread word of mouth online and offline. So what is those things that are important to them that you offer that allows personalization, that helps them kind of promote their own brand and talk about their own brand in interesting and smart ways? Facilitate tailored experiences. So it kind of goes to the previous point is they love surprises, they love novelty, they love interesting things, even if it's a short term. They love to kind of have those feelings facilitated. I'll talk a little bit about sort of the feeling of happiness and how it's important to them, but they love to create stories and memories. So when you look at your marketing efforts, are you asking yourself, is my message just fully pushing forward and just saying, well, boo, here's your message? Or is that message allowing for interactions and allowing for the brands to create, for your fans to create sort of that whole connection with the brand and create the stories? So interesting on that, I want to use an example of what Intel did. How many of you actually saw the Facebook application called Museum of Me? Debbie saw it. Several people did. So what happened last year is in Asia, we created this small Facebook application called Museum of Me. You go in, you allow sort of log in with Facebook, and it feeds all of your sort of photos and videos from your Facebook account and creates your own museum. So you're walking around and you see pictures from years back, and you see the videos, and then at the end, sort of this robot actually puts together sort of a picture of your own profile out of the pictures of your friends. So, not a big deal. You're like, okay, well, it's been done before. We launched it in Asia, and it blew up overnight. It blew up in Europe, it blew up in Latin America, so that it actually crashed our servers. Why? Why is something that kind of has been done before, and maybe it's done a slightly different way, and it's a very well done application. Why is it so popular? It's because it sort of reached out to audiences, especially it really talked to young audiences and said, we're gonna cater to your ego. We will allow you to create something out of your own memories and out of your own stories. And it's been amazing success. Millions and millions of downloads. We're able to scale it across multiple geos literally within 24 hours because we had that framework already set, so it was easy for us to do. But that's an example of tailoring experiences and catering to kind of who they are and giving them a little bit of a sense of novelty or adventure. Millennials are stimulation junkies. They're looking for sort of sense of happiness or a thrill or challenges. That's why gamification is one of the biggest growing trends, is because millennials are the biggest prevalent group online, and they're the ones who are playing a lot of games, or they're looking for applications that allow them that element of gamification. And so anything that you can do to just kind of offer that the sense of adventure, the sense of happiness, like Coke does. Coke does real well with their happiness campaign, will definitely resonate and work. They're also pretty impulsive shoppers. If you think they don't have money, they do. And they work hard, but they also allow themselves to reward themselves with sort of this luxury shopping. So some data says that, again from Barkley, that their sort of sense of indulgence and rewarding themselves with the latest and greatest, or maybe a little bit, the products that are a little bit out of their pocket is definitely there. They're also an entrepreneurial generation. So one of the things that you can do, you can help them succeed. One of the things we did at Intel is I led the program called Intel Innovators last year that allowed folks to kind of submit their ideas, and we did it for people from 18 to 24 years old. It allowed them to submit their ideas for business, and then we had angel investors and fan community actually vote on some of the best ideas, and they were amazing. They were really fascinating ideas, and the program was highly successful because the young generation is really, that they have a ton going on, and a lot of research shows that they prefer to be CEOs or self-employed versus going and working for somebody else, because they are full of, I want to go change the world, and these are some of my ideas of how I can do it. So ask yourself, if that is the spirit that is strongly showcasing, what can I do with my marketing or as a brand to help them get there? They're also very international, right? So there's the whole thing of, well, this is just, US, or this is a couple of other different countries. That doesn't work. They're extremely connected globally, and they don't really, they don't differentiate between where you are, what country you're in, because they know they can connect with anybody. So how are your programs reaching out globally and catering to their global communities? That's the question we ask ourselves every day. They're also highly social. So the whole concept of sort of facilitating togetherness is very important to them. They not only want to do it online, they want to do it offline, contrary to a popular belief. So in Europe, one of my favorite examples is Martini. Martini does really interesting things where they create those secret bars, right? So you don't know where the location is, but you know there's a party. Everybody likes the party, especially when you're, 19, 20 years old. And the secret bar is kind of like moving around, and they have great music. They offered multiple different martini drinks, lots of them for free. And so the young folks who know, kind of are in the know of that location, they get their friends together and say, let's go, have fun and create memories together. And sort of that sort of different purposes, it kind of maximizes that sort of the ego. I am in the know. I am cool because I know where the location is. It also multiplies the thrill effect, and it allows them to connect with their friends. A couple of other things is they're definitely content creators. So if you're not taking advantage of user-generated content and not really working with them on allowing their passion kind of spill over into your brand, you're missing a lot. So I suggest you don't control your brand. You invite folks in and say, and look at the creation and user-generated sort of ideas that they have to bring them to light and reward those who do produce content on your behalf and who are advocates and fans. Image and status matter, so we talked a little bit about it. Sort of use me marketing strategies, just like Museum of Me versus it's all about us or it's all about our products. And obviously, mobile device is indispensable body part. As a matter of fact, we talked to a number of young group of people, and what they told us is their mobile, and pardon the phrase, but their mobile device is more important to them than going and having sex, right? They can't live without sex. They can't live without their mobile device, which surprised me talking to college students, but okay. So I think that's one of the trends that we need to look at, and we really need to do a really good job of understanding how we engage with them and where we engage with them, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how in my trend number 5. So number 2, convergence of paid, owned, and earned media, which we call POEM. The whole significance of it is the fact that you can't just separate one, well, here we're doing social media, but here we're doing paid, and here, the earned is happening. You cannot actually separate it if you want to amplify your message in the right way. But here's the thing. It actually takes quite a lot of effort internally to do it. You have to have convergence of mindsets. You have to have different groups come together and say, you know what, we're not going to do just one versus the other. We're not going to have, social group here and then paid group there, and then everybody does their own thing. You really need to kind of integrate in a smart way. You also need convergence of departments, right? And then there's also convergence of tools and analytics, because the reality is there still the whole industry is very defragmented, and it's still very painful, let me put it that way. It's very painful to bring sort of all the tools that here are the tools that actually allow us to distribute and measure social content, and here are the tools that allow us to distribute and measure paid, and they don't talk to each other. There's no connections, and measuring it's hard. It's not apples to apples. So altogether, you kind of have a holistic brand story. So what we've done at Intel last year is we actually combined our social media center of excellence with our paid media team, and we actually working on a lot of that convergence right now, is building a dashboards that will allow us to kind of compare the success of our social efforts in sort of an apple to our paid efforts. And we're working very closely with all of our geographies to say, if you have a media plan, you have to also think about social, because social allows you to create communities and content, and paid allows you to amplify it. Here's a study that Ogilvy did. I love this study because there's really not that many studies out there that show the importance of the convergence. So they looked at, restaurant industry, and they looked at 404 restaurants, and they looked at 20+ media sort of exposure of 20+ media elements, including social, PR, paid, etc. And here's what they found: a staggering number, 17% increase, right, in actual desire to spend money on your product if they saw a social message coupled together with a PR message. And they looked across, and they also said it's actually true with social and paid media as well. 17%, I mean, who would want that? I would want that as a brand. And then here's some other combination of sort of social alone or social media and traditional exposure. And if you look at it, that on average, they're 2x to 7x, there's higher percentage that people will actually want to spend on your product and increase sales. 4 out of 5 cases where the sales impact was observed, and that is, you know, out of home, TV, sort of PR, all of those elements combined together. This is the graph from Altimeter Group that I really like, because what it shows you is it shows you the journey of why this is important. So you're sort of looking at, you know, you look at you know, what is my content strategy and what do I do and how do I distribute it? Then you go into sort of how do I publish it and what channels do I use to do that, into engagement. And then based on engagement, we actually do that in our communities a lot. You look at engagement, you say, how can I actually amplify some of the best content that performs well? So let's take Facebook. So, suddenly, organically, one of my content pieces, right, or images or anything I put out there is performing really, really well organically, way higher, and we track it in real time, way higher than anything else. So you go in and you amplify it a little bit with paid media efforts. So you put a little bit of sort of money behind sponsored story to make sure more of your fans and their friends see it. And suddenly there's even bigger sort of exposure and bigger levels of engagements around that content. And you can do all kinds of real-time testing to do that. And so you go back and you restructure and you go back and you change your content strategy based on what you learned. This is the type of contents that generate real good engagement. They resonate well. What can I do with my content strategy? And you kind of do periodic analysis and reporting, and all you go again and again and again. And it's really, really bringing results. So our pages and our social properties are some of the most engaged properties out there. Number 3, real-time marketing. So Debbie here for me, marketing front row, good friend of mine, I'm a huge fan of her work, just written a report on real-time marketing, some of the things I borrowed from that report. There's been a lot of conversation about sort of what is real time and is it really real and how much work does it take and what is it about and how can I as a marketer actually do it? Because if you're a marketer and a brand just like myself, you know you got to engage with agencies, you have to prepare the content, that all takes time, you have to go through circles of approval. How the heck am I going to do real-time marketing? So, you know, you have to work on actually fostering an environment of urgency within your teams and within your company. We're working at every single year. We're still not where we can be, but we are very real time. So when a meme comes along, right, like Harlem Shake or some other silly thing, we jump on board and we create a special image or we create a video. It's funny, we just did a Harlem Shake, which I participated in, and I'm not telling you who in the crowd I was, because it was quite embarrassing. But we're all, you know, dressed up in costumes in front of big Intel logo in Santa Clara. And the video scored, I don't know what it is now, but they literally 50,000 views in 3 days. That's crazy for something that employees threw together. But you know, people talking in PR picks it up and say, oh, well, Intel is on the crazy Harlem Shake trend, which, you know, it's just employees having fun. So, you know, it actually impacts everything. It impacts how you look at your content strategy, how you serve your customers. It even impacts your product development. But here's the thing. Relevancy has a deadline, right? And I think that comes from Debbie's report. I love that because relevancy is a very sort of a short-lived sort of action and occasion. So just like we all heard, you guys all heard about what Ore did and a couple other brands did during the big game, right? It's been all over the news. So when there was a blackout, they put out this tweet and they did it in all of their social communities. Power out, no problem. You can still dunk in the dark, right? Look at the amount of exposure that they got, right? Look at this. See, that's the numbers you want to see. 16,000 retweets, 6,000 favorites. Who wants, as a brand, wants that exposure? I do, for one single tweet. Tide did a really good job also with it. So this is another example. Again, they have a little bit less of virality to their message, but you know, it's pretty funny. I mean, they hit it on, you know, hit it on the head. One did really good. They took it as an opportunity to remind people that, hey, 500 million people in Africa never have power. You need to remember that. You know, that's a privilege, and they fight, you know, poverty. Walgreens went a little bit salesy. We have candles, people, come shop at us. So they went with a sales message, and PBS targeted their competitors, right? So here's an example of how kind of brands take advantage of it and how they sort of transform their content strategy in real time. Now, obviously, this was my favorite. I have no idea why there's not that many retweets. But here's Calvin Klein, right, doing this Vine video, which is Vine just came out. And so they're using this new hot technology to show this guy doing crunches in Calvin Klein underwear, let me say, products. And it plays over and over again. That's my favorite, but so you know, so it's different ways to approach it. But one of the things that you need to do is one thing you need to remember is make marketing personal, and that's my own example right now. So in December, I tweeted at REI and I said, okay, REI team, what you got for me? I need some Christmas gift recommendation. Did not expect much. I just expected, hey, so here are some new things in our store, because I really was too lazy to go, and I really honestly didn't have time either. So this is what they come back with. And I'm like, whoa, within half an hour, they put out a custom tweet and a custom video that says, well, hey, Katrina, and yes, they said, they referred to me by name and said, well, yes, and we did a little bit of research, and check this out. We actually think that this particular gift, which is in this case GoPro Hero 3, you know, is going to be awesome. And you can hook it up here and hook it up there. And I have a 4-year-old daughter, so I can hook it up to her and videotape anything, you know. So there's all kinds of things you can do with it. Half an hour, right? So I started digging, and I said, okay, hold on. I am a social media chick. I cannot leave this alone. So I actually contacted them. 3 people. 3 people on their social media team. They've been doing their social for years. They're green vests within the stores, the folks within the stores who, you see one of the green vests, actually, she did it right there in the store. They set up those little production areas where they shot in a sort of amount of like 2 weeks, they shot 90 custom videos as a response to their sort of gift pick questions, their campaign. Right there in their backyard. Didn't cost them much. So they have a green screen, they have a quick video camera, they shoot it, they edit it, they take it. Well, half an hour. 3 people on the social team with green vests being really passionate about it. And green vests, these are the folks who are on the ground every single day in the stores, knowing which products resonate, knowing which product works, how they work, and why they're important. I mean, how cool is that? Their traffic that month to their website, I believe I think it doubled just within the next several couple of weeks. I mean, how many people want to double their traffic? I mean, in 1 month. I mean, I love it. It's very well done. So what this story shows is you don't have to have a huge team. You don't have to have huge production budget. You just have to have a passion and a little bit time of wanting to do it. Real-time marketing, you think that was personal? Check this out. That is what I call actual mentality. Real-time marketing is the way of thinking about your customers. So a friend of mine, Ramon de Leon, he's in Chicago. He owns 6 franchises in Chicago, 6 stores of Domino's Pizza. He goes to this event where suddenly he sees, oh my God, look at that, that's MC Hammer. And he remembers. You know, what is the first thing he does? Do you think he's getting this autograph for himself? That's the first thing I think. Oh, MC Hammer, can I have an autograph? I'm not a fan, but that's how I act, right? What he remembers is one of his customers, a woman that's been his loyal customer for years, loves MC Hammer. That's all she talks about when she comes into the parlor, and she talks about him often. So what does he do? He comes over to MC Hammer and says, dude, you gotta do me a favor here. I have this customer, she's crazy about you. I want you to actually give me an autograph just for her. Not only does he does that, which MC Hammer is happy to oblige, he shoots a video of MC Hammer writing a custom note, holding it up and saying, hey, you know, I think it was Veronica actually, hey, this is for you. I might mess up the name, but you know, this is for you, and I wanted to say hi. And he uploads that video and sends it directly to her and says, that is for you. Thank you for being loyal custom. I don't think he actually had to say that, but that's the mentality. I mean, how cool is that? And he does that all the time. He did it multiple times at the event I was with when he saw somebody that he knew folks would be a fan of, like a speaker. There's smart marketing and there's a smart car. So the guy tweets this. Pardon my French, I'm going to read it in case you don't see it. Saw a bird, had crapped on a smart car. Totaled it. Okay? The guy has what, 4,000 followers now. Back then, I don't know how many he had. I think it was about a year ago. You could let it go. But the guy is an advertising agency, so they're like, not happening. Smart car comes back with an infograph that says, dude, sorry, but it couldn't have been one bird because it's you know, if you really, we did the math and we say, okay, it takes 4.5 million pigeon craps to total the car, 360 of turkey, and 45 of emu. Right? I mean, this thing starts traveling. People are laughing all over the place. They're rolling. They're like, oh, wow. The guy comes back with this. Outsmarted by smart car. Best social media response ever. Who would want to get a tweet like that? I will. I do. You know, that's an example of having a little bit fun with your customers, taking the risks, not being afraid. I just saw this, Debbie's going to appreciate it, just saw this published, what, last night, I think? That's cool. World's fastest agency. What they promise, apparently just launched, what they promise is how they help time-pressured clients keep pace with the sort of lightning 24/7 global media. No more presentations, no more customer briefs, none of that. Here's the easy 3-step process. Fast thinking, 3 steps. 1 step, you pay $999 via PayPal. Then you're basically ready to go. You send a 140-character brief via Twitter to the agency. And then, of course, the conversation is happening over direct message. And within 24 hours, you will receive whatever you want. They work with a number of freelance sort of writers and creative folks. And they say, we will tell you, you know, if you want a messaging, if you want an example of particular creative, we'll deliver it to you. Now, I'm curious as a brand who's been doing this for years, I'm curious to see how this goes. I'm going to follow these guys. I'm not saying this might potentially actually work. But there are already a lot of websites out there who offer you freelance folks on the ground. So for example, if I'm in Seattle and I say, hey, I'm going to be in Seattle, I want a videographer who can videotape my session, right? I can actually go and hire somebody for a really reasonable price, a person with experience, and they're going to be right there on location. You don't have to spend time, and you don't have to spend budget on them traveling like what the regular traditional agencies used to doing, right? So it's a big opportunity, and it's already happening. But just make sure, one word of caution is that you don't sort of insert yourself in conversation when you don't have a value to add. This is oldie but goodie. The whole Cairo Uprising, when that happened, Cole Haan came out with this tweet, and it was absolutely inappropriate. It was kind of out of context, and not, you know, not very well done. So just make sure that you're adding value and you understand what the context of conversation is. So real-time response take a lot of planning, right? If you think real-time is real-time, it takes people, it takes quick thinking. It takes, you know, the right positioning. So you need to make sure you're listening. That's where command centers, and I can have a whole hour just on this topic. Command centers are important because that's where you're going to hear certain things or pick up tweets like the smart car tweet. You have to look at meaningful data, but turn it into actionable insights, which is important. You have to have stakeholder alignment, because if you have creative team is responsible for doing your creative and you're responsible for social, you're not talking, nothing's going to happen. Employee and agency empowerment. You have to empower agencies to come up with great ideas and act immediately, right? That's what Oreo did. They brought it to their management and they go, great, post it. It was pretty much immediate. And you have to make sure that the risks you're taking, they're on brand. Number 4. So this is one of my favorites. I really love this topic because I think as marketers, we are sort of missing. We kind of know what's happening, but we're really missing a critical way to look at sort of how to use visual marketing to market our brand. Right? We know a picture is worth 1,000 words. And you know images speak to the heart. And there are certain images that you can see and you don't have to have any translation around. You understand them. They transcend cultures and languages. I don't have to tell you what those symbols mean. They tell stories. And they speak louder than words. And yes, I have this image of kittens hugging in here because I was told you're not a real speaker until you have puppies or kittens in your presentation. So there you go. So can I have collective, aw. There you go. There's a rise of visual social media. I've written about it for the past year, and you know, some of the numbers speak for themselves. This is just some of sort of the networks and statistics that you usually see. But look at this. I mean, the numbers are absolutely staggering. So a study in 2012 was done that showed sort of that 44% of respondents are more likely to engage with a brand if they post the picture. Right? And then another study that was done that says that top 10 brands, Facebook's kind of top 10 brands pages, they basically, their photos and videos, they drive the most engagements, and they're 12 times more than links and text posts combined, shared 12 times more. I mean, that's pretty crazy. This comes from Facebook, actually. Let me go back. 2x engagement with visuals on Facebook. Facebook told me that that statistics in the last year. They also told me that there is 90% higher engagement with timely visuals. So let's say if you have 4th of July coming in, the 4th of July during a couple of days will get 90% more engagement than all the other posts. So you have to stay timely. And this is what we do at Intel. We created custom images for our community specifically that talk about to all kinds of holidays, occasions. Heck, it's the first day of spring even. I mean, look at the amount of sort of the likes and shares we get. I mean, this is insane. How many of you want to put an image out there and get 700, more than 1,000, or even almost 2,000 for first day of spring? And today is the first day of spring. So how many would you want to have that kind of engagement? We all do, right? And but one thing that you notice with these visuals is they not only just custom developed, they also have this theme of sort of Intel die, right? Sort of the chip die going through all of them. When people get this in their news feeds, they know that it comes from Intel. It's recognizable. So there needs to be specific elements there that talk about, not only why you post that, but who you are without them even actually reading that. If you look on Pinterest and a couple of other spots, actually, this has been an infographic we developed, a year and a half ago. It is still one of the most shared infographics on Pinterest and in other areas. Infographics done smart, and there's a lot of bad ones out there, they do work. People are moving, we are so overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed with the amount of information that's hitting our news feeds, hitting our Twitter feeds. We cannot filter them. So we allow our peers, because we're creating groups and sort of Twitter lists where we have a particular number of peers that we track in a different column, right? Or we're allowed Facebook's news feed to filter out the messages that we want to see. And because videos and images, the rich media gets the most engagement, they will hit your news feeds more often. I can guarantee you that. We looked at a number of studies, we studied it for ourselves, and they always do well. But there's nothing like an infographic very well done that has a lot of information in a very visual way that can help add value. Pinterest. This is our Pinterest page. I started it last year, and talking about heritage, you can see we have a heritage board because a lot of folks, and there's a lot of young folks on Pinterest who we want to connect with. There's quotes, there's a number of different things, but one of the boards that I wanted you to pay very close attention to is called Fan Love. So you know how I told you user-generated content? We have a lot of fans on our Facebook page, and they come to us and they say, here's the image I drew just for you, or here's something I created that I wanted you to see. We go in, and I asked every single person whether we can have permission to share, and I upload it on our Fan Love board. First of all, they love to be featured, and second of all, it is a very strong sort of statements, and there's so much creative work out there of how people see our brand, maybe in the way that we don't see ourselves. Folks love that. So this is another way to add a little bit of flavor. And SlideShare. If you're not using SlideShare, that is the most organic driver of traffic to your web or wherever you want to drive people. It also is amazing for lead generation. LinkedIn bought SlideShare middle of last year, and they're doing really, really cool things with it. Trust me, I just spent the whole day at LinkedIn headquarters last week, and there's a lot of amazing things coming. So if you haven't considered SlideShare, please do. This is a presentation that I uploaded. It's sort of I took some of my favorite quotes by Mark Zuckerberg from my book, and all I did is I just put it out there in a visual way and said, here you go. If I can, as an individual, get 80,000 views or more now on my SlideShare, organically, imagine how much you can get. Right? Create beautiful content, create valuable content, and you'll get there. Number 5 is the danger sort of of the online influence. And a lot of times when we think about influence, we think cloud score, cred score, and we think, oh my God, my cloud score is tanked. This is the end of me. Everybody's going to look at it. They're not going to talk to me. They're not going to hire me. The reality is just one score. It doesn't really take into consideration from your perspective as a brand of what you need to be looking when you build an influence and advocacy programs. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about it. Right? Here's an interesting cartoon about sort of influence. Instead of sort of doing marketing, we're now screaming and shouting at our influencers because that's how we think we need to build influencer programs. Let's just go and spam them with stuff and make sure that they notice we're here. But the reality is that your advocates are right under your nose. Who thinks this is Photoshopped? Come on, don't be afraid. Neil there does, Mike, all right. That's what I thought. I woke up one day and I see this guy just casually tagging us on our Facebook page. And I'm like, damn, that's a big logo. That's like half of your back, man. Who in their right mind would actually tattoo a B2B brand logo on their backs? I mean, we're not Harley Davidson. I mean, I love Intel to death, but we're not Harley Davidson. Who is this awesome, crazy person? So I connected with him. I'm like, no, there's no way. I'm like, is this real? And we found out that his name is Damian Baylis. He's in his early 20s from Canada. He's a die-hard Intel fan. This was his first trip to Vegas. And yes, he was sober when he made a video of him getting Intel tattoo on his back. And he didn't have a buyer's remorse. He's like, no, I would do it again. I loved your brand, and I love what you do. And I love who you guys are. I want to be a part of your community, and he is. This is right under your nose. The advocates, not the influencers, who stand in front of you and go, oh, I have 1 million YouTube subscribers. I have 100,000 of Twitter followers. No, not those guys. But real true advocates who are out of this kind of gold middle between sort of the influence and long tail. There's this gold middle of influencers and advocates who actually love your brand and who don't need to be paid to put their logos on the backs or tell your story wherever they go. Here's this stunning fact about influence. Research shows that it takes 10% of a population holding an unshakable belief in order to convince the rest of the majority in a population in the belief that they hold. As a matter of fact, it's not just regularly the case, it's always the case. So my question to you is, do you know who your 10% are? Because if you go for the rest of the world And you don't focus on something that's right underneath your nose, or maybe those people don't have enough cloud score, but they are in love with your brand. If you go after the rest of the world trying to figure out, where do I start my advocacy program, you will miss. I love Hugh McLeod. He's a gaping void on Twitter. Very talented guy. This is a drawing that he did that basically tells you that instead brands go, the good news is they're hyper-connected. The bad news is, that's all they are. That's what brands do, is they look at hyper-connected with people with the big scores, and they don't really analyze how viral their communities are or how much love they're going to spread. And what we focus is how much do we pay you, or can we give you free products so you can actually write about us? Those influencers are not the one who will help spread your brand love. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of brands coming to them, a lot of brands wanting to pay, wanting to give them free products, and they're too busy being influential versus creating a content and spreading word of mouth around your brand. Instead, that's what you do. It should be, do you know everybody? No, I just know everybody who matters. So who are your advocates who matter to you? Technorati Media actually just did this study that says that the smaller the community, the greater the influence. And if you look at sort of the concepts like Rotary Club, right? Rotary clubs were created of 10, 12 people, that's all they allow, sometimes maybe 6. It's a small number of people who get together, who get to know each other, and who talk, they get together on a regular basis and talk about how we can help each other succeed. That's what you need to do with your advocates. Don't go boil the ocean and reach for everybody out there. Go talk to those who matter. Create those real small advocacy programs, and instead of creating campaign after campaign after campaign, build movements. Build movements. How do you do that? Everybody asks me, how do you do that? So this is one of the tools. There's several out there. This is a screenshot of Branderati, which they allow you, they go through the whole process with you. They'll help you. There's a number of different tools and approaches and weight sort of metrics, not just here's somebody's cloud score, right? But various approaches to focus on actually identifying your influences based on the criteria you set. They do that. They invite it into the platform where they can engage with your content. They can create content for you, and they can just interact with each other as well. And then that platform actually allows you to measure and report out what are the things that are happening with your influencers, who they are, whose message travels the most, what kind of content they're creating for you, and how they actually disseminate your content. Focus on very specific niche of influencers and advocates who can do that for you. We talked about youth. Go out there and say, I'm going to invite 15 folks who are young and they're in high school and college, but I want them to invite into my brand and let them critique the heck out of me. The stuff you'll hear will be mind-blowing. It'll be a rude awakening. And before I close, I want to give you one more bonus, because I just couldn't not talk about sort of social engagement that goes from dorm rooms to boardrooms. And there's a reason that I believe it's important. So if you look at sort of your brand and you say, we have a social media center of excellence, this is great, we're doing a lot of things, we're putting ourselves on the map, we're transforming us into a social business. But the reality is a lot of your executives are still not engaged, right? And there's a lot of studies out there that say that it is important. Social media is an important communication channel for executives, whether they have a blog, whether they have just a Twitter handle, whatever that is. There is a lot of folks that believe that if your executives are engaged socially and they're having those conversations with the customers as well as with media, honestly, and everybody else out there, that actually that perception of sort of brand honesty and trustworthiness and authenticity is really increasing, right? And with that, the brand loyalty increases. And that's not the only benefit. There's lots of benefits out there. One of them is those executives who are on social, when crisis hits, that's the first place that reporters will look. They won't go and say, let's go ask an expert who doesn't know what's going on in the brand. They're going to go to your executives and say, we heard this, is this true? So you can actually have your own way of replying and your own way of telling a story before everybody else kind of distorts it out of shape. 94% of employees believe that social CEO will enhance their brand. That's just the study that was done last year by IBM. extremely important to make sure that you're not only educating your employees and having them engage socially, but your executives as well. Example of Richard Branson, right? Richard is highly engaged in highly social, and one of the things that he says is, this is just, this is an opportunity to sort of set the bar. We're potentially missing the opportunity if we let somebody else tell a story versus our executives. Oliver does a really good job, SEB CEO. He says, listen, it gives me a public voice. It gives me ability to drive leadership. And sort of when we communicate out the value, we just real people as executives, IT stops being a black box. And in this example, it is IT, right? Because he's a CIO. But that's the reality of it. Our own example, Kim Stevenson, CIO. She just was appointed CIO last year. It's amazing. She got a tweet from an employee way down the sort of what we call food chain, way down the management chain. And he said, hey, boss, I'm really excited because I completed this first mobile application. And she replies right back and says, way to go, you're a rock star. This is our future. I'm really happy that you contributed to our future. But that wasn't the end of the story. And a couple of weeks after that, she actually had a big meeting. She got her whole organization into a big auditorium and said, here's the future, here's where I want to go. And she pulls this up as an example of amazing work well done. And the guy in the back stands up and screams, that's me, that's me. And people start clapping, and it's amazing. How do you think, 400 or 500 people around the room felt when she pulled that up and said, not only I'm social and leading by example, but I also want to recognize you guys for this. Thanks for connecting with me. That's cool. So in conclusion, engage Gen Y and Gen Z because they're extremely important. Make sure you integrate your efforts, both paid and social and earned. Cultivate the mind of agility and make sure that you sort of don't forget visuals when you build your strategy. And instead of creating just campaigns, make sure you build movements and think about relationship with your customers as a long-term proposition, not as something short-term. And obviously work with your executives to find their digital voice. I have let me go back. For some reason the video isn't playing from here. I want to show you a video. And the reason why I want to show you the video is because I want to tell you that, where is it? I want to actually tell you that marketing does not have to be boring. There are ways to make even the smallest product or very simplest product like water exciting again. Let's play it. This is a Nestle brand. This is their sort of water brand. All right, that's it for me. This is where you can find me. Any questions? Go ahead. Can we get a mic here? Here, hold on 1 second. Sandeep is coming.
Thank you. One of my favorite Intel campaigns is what you did with Toshiba a couple years ago with the Inside Film project.
We did it twice. We did one the year before and the other one, and we're actually gearing up to do the third one. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That was my question, what you were planning and what your results were good then, I guess.
The results are pretty impressive. I wasn't the one driving the campaign, so I don't remember all the results, but it's definitely Toshiba. We partnered with Toshiba, you guys, to do the whole sort of Beauty Inside film where we do a quick movie and we cast people and sort of fans, and they decide, who's going to be an actor and how the plot is going to go, which way this is going to move. So it's highly interactive. I don't honestly remember off the top of my head the results, but we are, I think, thinking of doing actually film number 3. It wasn't fully approved yet, but we're looking at doing one, yes. Thank you. It's right there. Sandeep, right there.
I have one too. Oh, it's fine. My target market is millennials, and I wondered if you had any information on the use of Pinterest and millennials, since they seem to be for older people.
Yeah, so I actually, it's funny because I just had the conversation with Teen Vogue, as a teen as an N. Teen Vogue, and they do a lot with sort of, especially with girls, but they bring a lot of youngsters together and they talk about what are the networks you're really on, right? Because there's this conversation about Facebook might not be the best network for Gen Z. How is Facebook going to approach that? Very valid question. Twitter maybe. And so one of the things that the youngsters actually telling them is that Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat are some of the most famous, sort of their favorite applications. So I would be looking at that. There's a lot of ways to use Pinterest in creative ways, including drive purchase intent, actually. And Pinterest, there's been a number of studies done that Pinterest does amazing job with driving intent. Actually, driving purchase, right? Because people click through the images, and what they do is they go in and they store a lot of sort of catalogs of what they want to go buy later, and then decide how they're going to buy it. And then there's a way to actually even put the pricing on your pins as well. And right now, Pinterest is redesigning. They're starting to, literally, I think today, rolling out the redesign that will allow you to actually do even more creative things on Pinterest. So that's definitely a network I would look at if you're engaging millennials, because they're very, very visual. But I would couple that with an Instagram strategy, absolutely. All right, question here?
Hello. My issue with crowdsourcing has to do with your entrepreneurial initiative for the 18 to 24-year-olds that all submitted their ideas for business ideas. Then you awarded $100,000 to one lucky recipient. Did all of those other ideas all of a sudden become your property?
They didn't, because we didn't set it up like that. So what happens, you guys, is we had $100,000 a month to give away. So we designed this whole platform on Facebook that allowed people to submit their seed ideas and their actually baked ideas. And it was really easy. So they submit their idea, they submit a quick video describing their idea, and it goes to a panel of professors from Harvard, Carnegie Mellon, and others to actually seed through and rate. And they rate each idea differently. So then we pick the top 20 ideas, and we bring it into what we call sort of a pitch room. So those 20 ideas, then the fans get to vote on. They get to engage around them. They get to build social capital. They spread the word. They really, really participate behind, and they get behind the ideas that they like. So what happens then is, based on sort of fan voting, we get to 5 top ideas. And those 5 top ideas go into Battleground, which is a live event where those 5 people pitch their ideas to angel investors. And the top fan who accumulated the most social capital. So the $50,000 each month was awarded by angel investors, and another $50,000 was awarded by a fan. 2 months we had $100,000, and 1 month fan awarded $50K to somebody else. But no, what we did is we said, listen, giving you money is half the battle. What we can also do for you is we will partner with NCAA. Yes, I think I said it right, NCAA, to also offer you, now you have money, now what? offer you actual education, time spending with the angel investors, time spent with people who actually build their own businesses before to help you move through the next round. So it's not like, well, here's the money, go bye-bye, and we keep the ideas. We actually haven't kept the ideas because they were actually mind-blowing, but none of them would actually activate, like my Starbucks idea or Dell idea. But we wanted to kind of surface the best entrepreneurs out there because I can guarantee you that some of those ideas that maybe haven't made to the top actually had opportunities to talk to angel investors offline afterwards. So it's just an opportunity to say our community decides with you, which is a crowdsourcing element, decides with us, but you also get exposure to our millions and millions of fans on Facebook and beyond. So I think there were a lot of different benefits that came with that. Does that answer the question? Okay. All right. Other questions? One more question. We have time for one more. Anybody? There's one right here.
It's not a question. I just wanted to give props. Somebody actually took advantage of real-time marketing here.
Somebody did real-time marketing. All right. What did they do?
So, I'm going to read a tweet.
It'll turn on, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, there you
Here
go.
we go. So, Eridus, who's Eridus here?
Yay!
Okay. Eridus ended up tweeting after the keynote with Ekaterina, line up for a free Eridus tattoo.
Nice. Look at that. I'll get one. I won't tell you where. No, just... Do you have those like temporary ones? Because if I show back home, you know, and my husband sees a big tattoo of a brand he probably hasn't heard about, it's going to be a little bit awkward. But hey, maybe a temporary one. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for. I'll be around. So come talk to me. All right.